Yeah.
So, um, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, what do you think of it? Or of
You
the,
know,
how much have you watched?
so I'm probably gonna watch all of it. I'm only 5 episodes in.
Mhm.
It looks good locations, filming locations. Obviously he's going for this upper class thing, but it's flat. I don't like it. It's flat. It's a little bit flat. I don't see the point. I don't understand what they're doing. They're terrible at their jobs too. They're not funny.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Did
I don't
you?
understand.
So when
Yeah, I
you
don't know
say
what's.
when you say flat, do you mean visually flat, like the movie? Because it looks gray, like it's very flat toned. And The Terminalist, which was another action movie, TV show, was like that. And I can't recall Reacher's color palette, but somebody pointed out about like how Marvel movies are the same, how they all to visually line up have to have
Yeah.
similar color palettes. So it's like as a franchise or brand identity, they're all
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
flattened. But like, did is that what you mean, or do you just mean in terms of tone and delivery,
Well, I
or
mean,
all of it? Yeah,
tone and delivery. But now that you've talked about the picture too, I think that's there's that too. Yeah. So
I just
nothing
remember.
stands. Yeah, nothing stands out like color wise. It's just like there's very flat, colors, muted,
Yeah.
dull. Um. So here's the thing, though. I don't think Danny Glover is that funny in the first place.
So
Um.
he doesn't seem to want to be that funny. Like I was thinking,
But
considering their background, both of them come from comedy, and it's not like
yeah.
a
But
super
here's the
funny
thing,
show.
though. His It's hard to take him seriously as a grown man.
You
You
still
know
see
what
him
I
as
mean?
Troy from Community.
How old is he? He's like 42, right? Something like
Yeah,
that.
and he
Yeah.
has a kid and stuff.
Yeah. So I think he's at a point where he wants to be taken seriously, which is fine. And I think that's gonna come. But I don't know. I just wanted to kind of yeah. I mean, he could be a little bit lighter. So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
just
that
like the show, yeah.
I
He's
wrote a
just trying to be too
review
mature. Yeah.
on filmgamer.com, and that's what I said in my review is like it's kind of odd that the movie starring Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, not known for comedy, is like a whole lot funnier, whereas the TV show starring two comedians is or comedy actors is like n- not as funny.
I commented on an Instagram post just like a few
Mhm.
minutes ago. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it, but
Yeah, I did see
um,
that actually. Yeah, making me turn on my
which
old.
is true. Yeah, which is true.
Mhm.
And uh, maybe the explanation is kind of ties into what I said about like who. So you obviously had like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie not taking themselves seriously in that
Mhm.
movie. They were having fun with it.
Yeah, it's
We know how. Yeah,
I
we
think
know
it's
how
because we
kids.
live in a
Yeah.
more
Uh-huh.
image conscious time. You know what I mean?
Okay. So how does that tie into it? Like, what do you mean?
So like I watched
I mean, yes, we do, but like, yeah, I don't know how.
I watched a Jimmy Kimmel interview of like the four young stars of Dune. So that was Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, Florence Pugh, and Austin Butler, and they were talking about meeting the like quote unquote older cast members, adults of the
Okay.
franchise, and they were like,
Yeah.
man, they like were wild and like knew how to party, and some of the stuff that they did on set and stuff like that, and they joked about like
Hmm.
Josh Brolin and all of that, and I thought I'm like, oh, well, that's because like the people who are famous now have grown up during social media and become famous where they've like have legions of fans who consume every single thing that they do. Whereas like
Hmm.
Josh Brolin and Rebecca Ferguson and all of that, like they
Yeah.
Javier Bardem, they've had careers of like being in their 20s and 30s and being wild, and there was like paparazzi when they were too much, but other than
Yeah.
that, they live their fame pretty anonymously, which is something that Colin Farrell spoke about because he was just kind of like, if people had seen what I had done back when I was famous and we saw some of it, during that time, if they're only
Yeah,
doing that, then they're good. So people are
yeah,
way more restrained now, whereas
yeah.
back then you could afford not to care because, there was paparazzi. But other than that, there wasn't like
Hmm.
everyone has a camera now. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I lost where we were,
So my
but
point is like, why is this all restrained?
okay.
I mean, so
Yeah.
part of it is that it's like the corporate culture of being like an Amazon TV
Okay.
series, but the other part
Yeah.
of it is that like the people who created and star in the show inform that tone. Like it's pretty
Yeah.
much Donald Glover's show, and it's like, well, okay, how do I use this to further my brand? And it's
Exactly.
like, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
look cool and be
Okay.
on
Yeah.
this show,
Yeah.
so I
Exactly.
can't be too
So,
funny or else I'm putting
uh
myself into a box. But
it's funny
I
because
overall enjoyed it.
no, look, I think it's still a fun show to watch. I'm always gonna watch anything he puts out. I think he's a smart guy. He's got something to say, obviously,
Did you watch
and
Guava
I think
Island?
I did. And I mean,
I
again,
haven't
I
seen it,
just
so
watched it. I watched it, and that's the one with Rihanna too, right? Rihanna,
yeah.
yeah. I watched it. It's a very weird movie because it's just like
Is it an actual movie or is it
riot.
like a concert movie? Like, is there a
It's like
plot?
a concert. It's been a while. It's a long time. It's been a while, but I know that there's a riot at the end or something, or somebody dies or something like that. So,
Is it a short film or
um,
a full film?
must be short. Can we
Yeah.
look? Can we? Uh, let me check how long it is. It's been a long time, but um, it's worth watching just to see what he's trying to do. Sometimes I
Hmm.
like to watch everything that somebody puts out because it sort of gives me context.
But he's, I
That's the
mean,
funny thing, though. I haven't
to
watched
me,
a lot
he's
of
like, isn't he
Community.
just like James Franco has a lot of stuff? Do you watch everything he puts out? Because it's like there are some people who have like, to me, the epitome of that is like Denzel Washington, Tom Cruise, maybe Jodie Foster, where it's like
Yeah,
they do something every once in a while, but
yeah,
when they do it, it's like an event. It's like, oh, Jodie
yeah,
Foster, what she do? Oh, True
yeah.
Detective, or she's
Uh-huh.
in Nyad, and it's like she's nominated for an Oscar. But then it's like Donald Glover. It's like, how's Guava Island?
Yeah.
Like had he gone from Community and then did nothing and then did Atlanta,
Mhm.
and then in between the break of Atlanta he did that Childish Gambino record, and
What?
then
Okay, so here's the thing, though. I mean,
did Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Like if he really curated, you
yeah,
know
but
um
yeah, but I think that's the whole thing with his brand. I just read an interview he did a few years ago. He interviewed himself. Did we talk about that off the
I
podcast?
no,
Did you remember the Do you
I
remember the
feel I've
interview?
seen it, but I
He
can't
interviewed
recall.
himself.
Yeah.
So kind of he interviewed himself, and
Mhm.
it's actually worth reading, by the way. Just kind of gives you a picture of because the whole idea is nobody understands me, but also nobody knows how to approach me in a way that I can like let the world know what I'm really about. Like
Seems like a
you guys
very
don't,
woe is me tortured artist kind of thing.
yeah, like you don't even understand me enough to know how to approach me. So I'm going to do my own thing and set the tone and project myself out there. So
Hmm.
um I think so. I was just gonna say because it's kind of, I mean, he's obviously 42, but he's been pegged as like some genius, talented guy who does music and movies and does all this stuff. And I mean, sure, I guess, but like some of his stuff, his music is just kind of mid. It's
Hmm.
mediocre too.
Yeah.
Um, and
Well,
so maybe that's the whole thing. Like he's just a confusing guy because is he actually that good, or it's just something we've been told is good? And
I think he has some talent. It's just a matter of like, when you're as
yeah,
talented as he is, you can kind of afford to half-ass some things. What
yeah,
I wonder about was that somebody who I've had that same conversation about is Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who was originally supposed to make this with
Yeah.
him. They were both
Hmm.
in Solo together, which is the worst Star Wars movie, in my opinion. And he surprisingly disappointed me in that too, because he
Well,
might have like
that's yeah.
phoned it in. He's like perfect casting, and then I watched it, and it's like, oh, did he phone it in? But like
Mhm.
she left halfway through the development of Mr. and Mrs. Smith due to creative differences. And I kind of find it funny because she signed like a really big check with Amazon to develop television shows. And here comes an Amazon television show that seems like this is a hard premise to mess up. Um,
Why? Because it's his show. It's me thing. Is that what it was, or?
I just find that there aren't very many action television shows of this. Not that it's huge scale, but it's an expensive show, and Amazon is willing to give that the backing. And they're arguing over creative differences, like it's gonna win an Oscar or something like that.
Yeah.
Like action is like a fun genre to do that you have fun doing.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
I'm curious about what direction that was, but then at the same time you watch the end result and you're like, oh, I guess he was more right because he was the one who finished the show and she ended up leaving, and they got Maya Erskine, I think it's Erskine,
Hmm. That's
as
good.
the as and she was good. Like she was very very low key, very removed in a way that like bothered me but made sense for the character. I thought so. The only thing is that the show in crucial areas like I'm surprised, especially towards the end, where they repeat some of the plot elements of the movie, and I'm like, wow, they're really paying reverence to like a movie which was mediocre. Like it was a
Hmm.
good movie and had some good parts, but it like the end plot is like nonsense. So they kind of do better than the movie, and I'll be curious what you think when you watch the
Yeah.
second half. But they it does better than the movie, and then it like kind of
Hmm.
pulls off the brakes and kind of as an equally lame ending.
Yeah.
But like it's a fun ride overall.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen anything like it in a while, so I'm just kind of happy to watch
Mhm.
it.
Have you watched
Uh.
Terminal List or any like
No.
it fits into 000, which you turned me on
So
to. It was the
yeah.
first in the line of like, wow, this is like super expensive, super high
Yeah.
quality. How can they even afford to
Yeah.
spend this?
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
I was.
like in that
Yeah.
genre.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just gonna say that's the first thing I thought about when you're like, it's an expensive
Hmm.
series to make because they have to, travel and I mean, they're like at one point they're like in a ski resort and
Hmm.
all that stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
I mean, even the other locations too, like the nice hotels and
Hmm.
these beautiful cities in Europe and stuff. So, but like, yeah, 0 0 comes close to that. If it's, but 0 0 is even better because it's actually the story is a lot more compelling. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
there's criticisms and stuff, but
The stakes are a lot
um,
higher, weirdly.
yeah, yeah,
It's a way more immediate. It has better actors. Um, the only thing that the funny thing is that like better writing is on Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but it's
yeah,
just that the writers kind of zigzag a few times in the story that they're telling, whereas
right,
000 doesn't really have like a super great screenplay or anything. It barely
yeah.
goes anywhere, but because
Well, I
it's
mean, it's just like
laser
transport
focused
them
on
first.
the
Yeah,
story it's trying to tell, it lends an
yeah,
immediacy that's overall
yeah.
better.
Well,
Uh,
the whole point is just get the drugs, right? Just ship the drugs to,
yes.
and let's get the money. And so there's like a sense of urgency because this shipment has to, I don't know, has to
Or
like,
they're done. Like
yeah, yeah,
Gabriel Byrne, it's like,
yeah,
if we don't continue to ship cocaine into this region,
yeah,
our
yeah,
company ceases to
yeah,
exist.
yeah,
So
and
that
it,
was
yeah,
like, I
yeah,
really, I still think about that show. I actually like it, even though there's not
yeah,
like a lot to hold on to.
yeah.
Um,
No, it's a fun show to watch. It's just fun to watch. So
it's
it's
just
not that
weird.
deep,
Like,
but
how much
yeah,
money do you think they spent on that show? Because that show
yeah.
came and went, and the only people who I have ever heard to refer to that show are you and me. I've never heard
And
anybody talk
you
about
know
it
who
ever.
else?
Who?
You know who else?
Who?
Uh,
Do you know who
what's
else?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Damn, I just his name's horror, the author horror.
Stephen
Um,
King.
yes,
He had said so on
talked about
Twitter.
it too.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, you know what? Shit.
Hmm.
And you know what? I just found that show randomly. So I'm
Well,
like,
he
you know
also
what?
said True Detective season 4 was good, and it's not. So we can't.
Okay.
Stephen King, very good plotter, not the best
Yeah.
critic. And that's the
Yeah.
thing is that this happens a lot on Twitter, at least, where people like good person equals good critique. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this movie was good because like the Barbie criticism and stuff. It's like people saying this movie is good because of who wrote and directed it and starred in it, not necessarily because of any of the merits of the
Yeah.
plot
Yeah.
or
Well, yeah.
people don't engage with the craft. Everything's didactic, like it's either great or the worst.
Well, that's why that's the whole conversation around Donald Glover and this
Mhm.
show. Am I supposed to like it just because, oh my God, I've been told this guy's a genius and therefore anything he puts out is like,
Mhm.
I'm just watching it because, sure, I already, yeah. But, we've been through that already. So,
So, what do you think? Just to wrap it up on that section, like, what's the next move for this guy? Basically, like, it could either get another, like, is he gonna continue doing? Because Atlanta was the same way, where it's like you could kind of
yeah.
watch the first season and it's like, okay, are we done here? Are we gonna come back
Yeah.
for a season two, or is he gonna go on and do? Because he hasn't really like
Have they
gotten higher.
okayed a
Like he
second
did.
season?
Well, he has the Community movie, which he says he's gonna come back for. So,
Uh,
but I'm curious of like he he's not going to be a movie star. Like he's a good TV star. So
yeah.
he's not going to like go higher. He'll just probably continue making so how do you go higher from that? Like I did
Well, I mean,
maybe make a season 2 or something like that that's like bigger and that's his like almost like movie franchise
yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Like what was that show where people wanted more of Fleabag, people wanted more of there was this like Game of Thrones, like
Okay.
there are shows where they get so colossally huge that they kind of supersede movies. So
Yeah.
do you think if it like it my question is this going to be a project where he's kind of like continues at its level or it will keep getting bigger? Like do you think it has that potential or do you think they'll just keep it as like a mini series one and done? Because it ends in an
Yeah.
open-ended way where you could either get closure or you could get another
Yeah.
season, but it goes either way.
I think that's just kind of Donald Glover. That's his whole personality,
It
open
doesn't,
ended.
yeah, it doesn't seem like he thinks
That's
that
just
far
his
ahead.
character.
Yeah.
It's
Like returning
um
to Community.
you could, but what is it? Is it going to be Troy again? Like, what's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
angle
no, he
now?
is like he
You
signed
know?
on to do because they've
Oh,
done
okay.
6 seasons and they're doing, in the second season there was that joke 6 seasons in a movie. And then
Yeah.
he left halfway through season 5 because of Atlanta. So then they replaced him with like Keith David and Jonathan Banks and some other actors. But then he just mentioned last month that he's going to sign on to the Community movie, fulfilling the prophecy of like 6 seasons in a movie that Abed joked
Yeah.
about in season
Yeah.
2. So that like
Well, I mean, yeah.
completes the loop.
I mean, I just didn't know, like, is he going to go back to acting as like a guy who peaked in high
Mm,
school, or is he going to be like much older? Because then if he goes back to like while he's
mm.
trying to like do this, he's trying to
Oh, you know what
like
I forgot that he's doing?
what's that?
The Lando TV series.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know it's coming. I just saw a
Yeah,
headline about that.
yeah, I forgot, but we forgot it already because
Yeah.
Star Wars hasn't been good for a while.
So
Um,
is he producer on that one? Is he running, or is he just an
Yeah,
actor? I'm
he's
not.
him and his brother are doing it, I believe.
Okay.
I'll check. Let me see here.
Well, we'll see how that goes because again, I
It,
think he's still trying to.
his brother Steven. I feel like his mom is always like, and make sure to include your brother, you know. Uh,
Come along, Steven. All right.
and I can't tell if the brother is older or younger. Yeah, they replaced Justin Simeon, who did Dear White People. Um, and then he did the Haunted Mansion for Disney, and that flopped.
Yeah.
So coincidentally, that same month, it was announced that he would replace Justin Simeon because it's like, well, he's already on the show, might as well make him a
Yeah.
writer. Um, so Yeah, him and his brother
I don't know
Steven
what
are
I don't know
running
what's
that
going to
show.
happen to him because it's hard to. I don't think he's picked his lane. Has he picked his lane?
Well,
Do
it's
we know
kind of
what
funny.
kind
How
of
many
like? Do we?
Grammys
Does
has
he
he
have a
won?
shtick? Does he have a? I mean, is he just doing different projects? Does he have a? Is there anything consistent with him though? Like, that's the whole thing. I don't know. Um,
It's annoying because I'm trying to find accolades. Um, yeah, Childish Gambino. Let me see here.
he's
Yeah,
got a Grammy for music.
yeah, he's won. I believe he's won something. So he's already won a Grammy. So he'll win an Emmy. And I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
for that
It's
one
just,
song.
what
Yeah.
would you like for him to see? What would you like for him to do?
Well, I don't like. I mean, in the first place, I don't like him that much, right? I don't care for him that much.
Hmm.
So
He's.
um,
Mhm.
he's still yet to impress me. That's the whole point.
So do you think that he can come out with like an Oscar nomination for something? Because the Oscar always
Yeah.
seems to be the top career award in all of entertainment. Like, I mean, no offense to people who win Emmys or Tonys,
Yeah.
or Grammys, but like the Oscar seems like the hardest to win. Even Kobe Bryant went
Yeah.
bought an Oscar at the end of his career, which I was
I mean,
just discussing.
he's going to make something really good at some point.
Mhm. But it's
He's got the
like,
chops. He's got the chops. But
what's the best thing he's done so far, you think? His record as Childish Gambino.
like in music,
Overall.
uh, I like that one song where it's like singing. It's got like the not because of because of the internet. Is that it?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah.
Summer something. There's got one song called Summer. Is it Summer
Hmm.
Pack? Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, Hot B
You know what would be the
55.
most impressive to me? I mean, would be if he won.
Redbone. I think the Redbone song. Yeah, that
Yeah,
song.
Redbone. Yeah.
I've got a few songs that I like. Even like his older songs, I like them.
I think
Um,
the who's a funny comparison to his career?
mhm.
Tim Allen.
Oh, really? You
Because
think
Tim
so?
Allen had the number one
I
TV
like-
show, he had a number
Yeah.
one movie, he had a number one book on the New York Times bestseller list. He's had a long career. He's never been like a huge movie star or anything, but he's been in
Hmm.
successful movies. And
Yeah.
then, he has those franchises to go back on. So I would think if Donald Glover, it's like this is hitting the reset button, and then he has a hit TV show. He goes back, he does the Community movie, and then he does some dramatic supporting actor role because he was like really good in The Martian. You know, that was like a great small role for him. So it's like if he manages to win the Emmy, the Oscar, the Grammy, and the Tony, or as the Grammy. So the and I wonder if Atlanta, if he won any. Again, Wikipedia is like broken. So if I
I
just
thought he won a few. Yeah, he won a few. Didn't he win for the last season? He won for the last season too, like a
well,
few
it's weird
episodes
because the
after
last
last season.
season, so yeah, so he's won two Emmy, so he's won two Emmys, and he's won Grammys. So he just needs an Oscar and a Tony.
Yeah,
Do you think he can do it?
Tony maybe not, but
Yeah. So he won for.
Oscar no. Oscar maybe when he's older, but no, not anytime soon. And that's gonna be hard, man.
They kind of aren't though. Like Kobe Bryant won an Oscar,
For what? Was
best
it for acting?
animated short film. What happened
Yeah,
was,
but okay, come
which
on. I
counts.
mean,
Well, exactly. There is no come on. All Oscars are treated equally. If you win supporting actress, it's as good as winning lead actress. You know, uh,
look,
yeah.
if Kobe was alive today and he goes around saying I got an Oscar, everybody would be like, really? Okay, that's cool, but what for? Everybody would know it's not for acting.
No,
They'd be like
but that's not
animation.
the thing.
Oh,
That's
okay,
not the thing. The thing is when they introduce him, they can say Academy Award
Oscar
winner
winner.
Kobe Bryant.
Sure,
So
yeah,
like that's
okay.
all it is. So that it's like
The
getting
title,
knighted.
yeah,
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 exactly. It's a title. It doesn't
yeah.
mean anything. Frank Langella
Okay,
said
cool.
in Superman.
He'll get it. He'll get
Um,
it.
yeah,
He'll get it.
he could
That
win
kid's
it.
gonna get it.
Riz Ahmed. You know him.
Okay.
He
Riz
won an
Ahmed? No.
Oscar. He
Okay.
won an Oscar as well. Best short film. You know,
Okay. I don't know
so
who Riz Ahmed. Was he for? What's he do?
you've ever seen The Night of? He's a Pakistani British rapper. He was
Okay.
in Nightcrawler. He was Jake Gyllenhaal's assistant. He was in Sound of Metal. Um, you know, where he goes deaf and he's a heavy metal drummer. Doesn't ring
Is
any
Night of
bells.
good? Hmm.
Pardon?
Is the
Is it?
Night of good?
Yes, it's very good. It's really well written by Steve Zalian, and
Oh, okay, cool.
it's like one of to me one of the definitive true crime mystery miniseries.
Okay. I think I
Yeah,
could watch that.
yeah, yeah. I just told somebody to watch it and they liked it as well.
I
It
think I could watch
originally
that. I've been looking for something like that. Yeah.
and my buddy Eric, who also I do this podcast with, um, he was watching The Sopranos and looking for something for James Gandolfini or whatever, and
Hmm.
then he was asking why he's a producer on that movie TV show. Sorry, The Night of, and I said because it originally starred him, and then he watched it and really
Okay.
enjoyed it. Him and his girlfriend. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, I'll wrap it up there just because we have a remaining time for recording of like 4 minutes. So what would you grade Mr. and Mrs. Smith over so far? A letter
Out
grade
of
out of
five,
10?
5 stars. Out
Sure.
of 10, 5 stars. I'll give it a 2.5. Is that too
Okay.
harsh?
Yeah, yeah. Depends on the ending. So we'll come back and let
Okay.
me know when
What
you
would you?
finish it.
Okay. Yeah. I guess you can't rate it because you spoil it for me. So yeah.
I'd give it a 7.5, I guess.
Out of
Yeah.
10. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like a 3 point. That's a 3.5 out of 5.
Hmm.
Almost. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Or B.
That's very. That's
Hmm.
very generous. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love action. I think it's like weirdly underrated. Like it's
I
something
mean,
that could.
look.
I'm
Okay.
a.
Sorry. My bad.
It's just my favorite genre.
I know. I love action
Mhm.
too. I was just surprised with one scene. Are they in Cambodia? Laos? Where are they? In South
Oh
Asia.
yeah, 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 yeah. At the end of episode 4, yeah, they're like in
They get
Laos.
into a fight. I couldn't like. I just didn't
Tell
see
what
the.
was going on.
But it was dark. I was like, okay, this is lazy. Like, okay, dude, you get your chance, and then you
It
couldn't see
seems like
anything.
something where they had something else planned, and then they ended up that didn't
Did you
work, so
notice
they
it
had to
too?
do that.
So you
Yeah,
noticed it too, yeah. You noticed
yeah.
like
It
it was
seemed
just
it
kind of
seemed
yeah,
like rush. Okay, what's going on? What happened? They just kind of
yeah,
directed themselves into a corner and didn't know the way out. Yeah,
yeah,
and that I find that episode 4 is the first misstep of the series where it's just kind
yeah,
of like, but this seems like that like them meeting other people who are other spies. I'm like, okay, are these people going to take them out or something? Like it seems
yeah,
dumb to let them know all of
yeah,
their stuff in their house. So it
yeah.
seemed like an actively dumb thing to do that only
What I
served to
keep thinking
introduce
like
more problems.
something's gonna happen, you being found out.
That it
So
was
like
going to go
another
up
spy
another
has
level.
found yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because it's like you just made like a John, whatever's John Smith or something like
yeah,
that, like
yeah,
randomly. So but anyway,
yeah. I mean, how is that not suspicious?
yeah.
And especially when he's played by Pablo Escobar. You know,
So
um,
the whole time I'm like, wait a minute, is this who is this? Because I'm like, this is like an off-brand, uh, I mean, obviously it's Pablo,
but
but
mhm.
it kind of gave me
Yeah, this
um
guy is supposed to be somebody.
there's supposed to be somebody, but I'm not, I just can't make it out.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, is that Pablo?
Mhm. Yeah. He's also
Anyway,
in
he's
the
not bad. He's
he's
pretty good. He's
okay.
not bad though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
He was in we'll see how he does in the movie Civil War coming out by
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, that's gonna be
A24.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Well,
anyways,
we'll
last
catch
minute.
up.
Yeah.
Sounds
Well,
good.
hopefully thanks for recording a podcast episode with me.
It's okay. We'll do better next time. I'll prepare more.
Yeah, sure.
So let me know once you got a recording, and then we'll kind of,
Oh
you
yeah, I
know,
got it. Yeah, yeah. I got
yeah.
it and I'll just hit stop right about
No, I
now
mean,
and I'll
yeah.
just
Once you upload it or send it or something, so I can
Oh,
kind of
okay, yeah, yeah. Because I prefer to end when I just hit end, however
critique.
randomly. Yeah. All
Okay.
right.
Well, film gamer.
Yeah. Thanks for